Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Today is Brahmanandaji's birthday. One of the monastic direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna and the first president of the Mutt and Mission, Sri Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission. His birthday we celebrated today. A spiritual stalwart. The 16 disciples had their own different nature, like as if Sri Ramakrishna is sitting in the center, and like sun's rays, they were diverse form of his existence. On one side, if Swamiji is of intense Advaitic nature, on the other side, extremely devotional by temperament and total dedication and offering was Rakhal. Akhandanandaji, on the other side, intense activity of service, compassion for beings. Each one is a diverse. All the 16 disciples, as if 16 annas for a rupee, that makes the rupee complete. Like that, all aspects of Hinduism was displayed by these 16 disciples, including the Shad-darshanas. Each was as if knowing everything and highlighting a particular thing. So when we come to Rakhal, we see from childhood he had a soft nature of a devotee. His father, Anand Mohan Ghosh, was a Jamindar, one of the village's rich person, an aristocratic family in which he was born. Mother was Kailasa Kamini, but an extremely devoted to Lord Krishna. When Rakhal was 5 years, she passes away. After her passing away, Rakhal will be without mother. He was 5 years of age, say first standard or something like that. Present age estimations. Then we see at the age of 12, he is coming to Calcutta for high school studies. There he gets Naren, Vivekananda, as his companion in the school and at all places of play. At home, he exhibits a versatile varieties to know and think. He is interested in everything as if, but there is no display a silent witness of absorption, grasping, receptivity, holding on to, but no distribution, no display, only collection, going on collecting. Like a honeybee runs from one to one, just grasp. And when he comes to high school, Kolkata, you will see him exhibiting his pure intelligence, both in grasping and answering the situations, because a motherless child, he has to manage many things himself from childhood, including the love of mother which he misses. And you will see Naren was very strong and influential, and he physically equally strong was Rakhal. His name was, Brahmanandaji's earlier name was Rakhal Chandra Ghosh. So Rakhal was also, and when after the high school, end of the high school almost, they start going to gymnasium, common gymnasium and wrestling. It will be very difficult to judge like Vali and Sugriva. They will be. So Naren and Rakhal used to be like that. And ordinary wrestlers and people cannot win over them. And win over even Rakhal. Rakhal was very strong physically, intellectually also, but of calm nature. His grips were so strong, how that softness of his nature and that grip of wrestling were going together, God alone knows. So, like that was his nature, devotional by temperament. Then, when he becomes 18 years of age, as was the times, demand of the times, he gets married. Vishweshwari. Her brother was Manmohan, who brings him to Sri Ramakrishna. Manmohan was Ramakrishna's one of the pet disciples, and he brings Rakhal to Ramakrishna. And you see, just that relationship as if was to bring him to Sri Ramakrishna. And that beautiful arrangements, as soon as even the first visit to Sri Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna immediately recognizes him. Before he reaches Sri Ramakrishna, a few days before, Sri Ramakrishna gets a vision, and Divine Mother telling him, pointing out to a child, he is your son. Within a few days, Rakhal comes there. The moment Sri Ramakrishna sees him, he recognizes. Two things Sri Ramakrishna recognizes him was, one, he was a playmate of Sri Krishna in his one of the previous incarnations, and he was a playmate of Krishna of Vrindavan, divine play. And Sri Ramakrishna recognizes that, and later on he will tell that he belongs to one of the Ishvara Kotis, whom Sri Ramakrishna recognizes, 6 of them. One was Naren, another was Rakhal. Rakhal also one of the Ishvara Kotis. Ishvara Kotis means after realizing God in all aspects. Remember, in all aspects, God has multiple aspects. unlimited aspects. And if you know one of the aspect of incarnation, manifestation, the other is that which manifests the unmanifest. Two major aspects, if you know. Universe has one of the manifestations. Tasmin drishte paravare. Para and avara. The supreme and the non-supreme. Having known the supreme and the non-supreme, a person will be free from all karma, all doubts get dissolved. What is that phrase of the Upanishads? Tasmin drishte paravare. Vidyate hriday grantischa छिद्यन्ते सर्व संशयाः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि तस्मिन् दृष्टे परावरे. Having para avara, having known the absolute and the relative. Relative includes all aspects of God, the manifestations of God, and para avara, this universe, and all beings. Tasmin drishti, having realized the two, vidyate hriday granthi, the jiva is bound, the chaitanya is bound to the bodily existence only by the karmic load, and this bondage of karma is called hriday granthi, the binding between the jada and chetana. Jada chetana granthi is released, that I become free from the bodily existence. When does it happen? When you know the absolute and the relative and know them to be one. Vidyate hriday chidyante sarva samshaya, all doubts get cleared. Kshiyante chasya karmani, he becomes released from the karmic bondage and karmic load. Tasmin drishte paravare. So this aspect, Sri Ramakrishna sees, after having attained this state of realization, total realization, absolutely free from the karmic cycle, free from the niyama cycle, and free from the kala cycle. Desha kala, kala atita. You must come out of the wheel of karma, wheel of niyama, and wheel of kala, beyond kala. Means you must be witness of the whole creation appearing and disappearing. If you become free from the karmic cycle, you will become witness of your jagra swapna sushupti, your nitya pralaya. When you transcend the kala chakra, whole universe appearing and disappearing, you will be witnessing. So you will be eternal witness. So this you will see, after having attained this, Divine Mother selects a few and keeps them to go with the incarnations. They are called Ishvara Kotis. And Sri Ramakrishna recognizes this Brahmananda as one of the Ishvara Kotis. Means imagine when he comes to Sri Ramakrishna as a boy, what was his status? He himself doesn't know who he is, how the mother covers the supreme knowledge that he doesn't know who is he. He doesn't know he had come with Krishna and he was the playmate of Krishna. And Sri Ramakrishna recognizes and tells to others, and he warns also, see that he doesn't come to know who he is. The moment he comes to know who he is, he will leave his body. Same thing happens in the end. So we see him, as soon as she comes to Sri Ramakrishna, he sees the entire world of mother whom he has lost at the age of 5. Thousands of mothers put together are there within the Sri Ramakrishna. And within a few visits, he decides to live with the master here. He himself decides that I am going to stay with Sri Ramakrishna. See what a state they come to. This is possible to take a decision at that age, I am going to stay here. What a authority and what a wisdom, not knowing anything. And here Sri Ramakrishna takes that small child, big child, and then brings it up. Slow spiritual unfoldment, like a plant growing, leaf one by one, leaf coming out. You will see him slowly blooming in the world of spirituality. He was one of the first among the group who enters into Bhava Samadhi. Whenever Sri Ramakrishna or singing used to go on, after having come to Naren was very powerful and dynamic personality. He could influence any mind and convince any mind with the ideas and ideals. And he comes under the influence of Naren, and Naren leads him to Brahmo Samaj and makes him the vow to take a vow that he will not bow down before the images. One of the vows of the Brahmo Samaj. So, but his nature was entirely different. There was a Kali temple very close to his house in his village where he was born, his parental house. So he used to go there, and during those days of school days, before coming to Kolkata, he used to make images like Naren, same Thakur, Ramakrishna. He used to make images of gods and goddesses, keep and sit and worship, or sit for meditation in front of those images. See how the Leela continues. He was amidst the Gopas and Gopis, and the trend is continuing in this life also. How many lives we continue with a trend that we acquire. But all will lead to the divine, ultimately. Whatever way you worship God or contemplate on God, meditate on God, it doesn't matter. Each one has his own path of combination of things. But to be free, not to bind ourselves with so many rules and regulations, to be free and acceptable to all things as they are, is the best way. You will be not restraining yourself and wasting energy on unnecessary things. This one, if I put on myself, I will not bow down to image. Gone. Oh, how much of energy I spent in my life to protect that one thing which is not going to ultimately help. Because last I am going to see divine in everything. I have to see in stone and in images, what to speak of images, even in the grain of sand on which I am walking, I have to see the same divine. On God, I walk, I eat God, I sleep on God, I am God. So to that extent, we are going to go. So why hold on to certain things and waste time and energy? Save time, save time. So Naren's, Rakal's nature, you will see that is, and he takes the vow, and when he comes to Sri Ramakrishna, and singing is going on day and night, dancing is going on, Thakur is now and then entering into deep samadhis, from which he learns little by little how to bring him down from which samadhi. He has to take care of Sri Ramakrishna. And he learns little by little of the true spirituality. We see in the whole of spiritual world, each has his own nature, each has his own path, and when we try to reach the summit, we retain that nature and try to bring others into that nature. But Sri Ramakrishna's, this one you see, and later on you will see the same thing in Rakhal, that he had to manage with the institution where he has to work with so many monks. The Ramakrishna Mission is just like zoo. Each monk has his own nature. One is tiger, another is cow. And he has to make them, whatever is their food. You have to give meat to cow and grass to tiger. What happens? They will start fasting. So, to a bhakta he has to give bhakti. To a jnani he has to give jnana. Another is going by the path of yoga. Another is going by another path of kundalini. He must know everything and give them, make them grow in their own path. When he becomes the president of Math and Mission, you will see him managing beautifully the whole. And one important thing is, he never stood on a stage and gave lecture. He was an ocean of knowledge and wisdom, bhakti, everything was there. He was individually guiding, but never once he happened to stand and speak. He was supposed to address the audience. He addressed, I think. He told his address and sat down. So that was his, but his just presence was elevating people. Wherever problem would be there, he would just go and stay there for 2 days and everything will calm down. All will become one and join, and in his presence slowly all differences will dissolve and all problems are solved. This is one thing. And then his high encouragement for contemplative life. Be silent, be calm, be contemplative, and intense activity. For the sake of others, it is Math and Mission. Math and Mission. So activities are there, and he has to compensate. The intense activities from sunrise to sunset was compensated by their contemplative nature that develops. To remain in a contemplative mood and do intense activity, see how to balance between the two, he teaches there. Silently, through an important feature that we need to cultivate. That to remain calm, undisturbed, during activities and to get totally dissolved when you sit for spiritual practices. No world, no body in spiritual practices. In working, not to forget God, not to go outside. It is working from within the fort. You are within yourself. You are intensely active and doing act, but you are within yourself. You never come out. The limbs are working, mind is working. One thing we must remember is these modern psychologists and psychiatrists and modern science concerned with the mind always keep the mind on the throne, big one, mind, and try to see from this side, that side, as if mind is God, and try to repair it from this side, that side. Mind is a servant. Nobody teaches them. Your mind is your servant. Why are you worried about the mind? Leave the mind to itself. Why are you keeping the slave on the top of everything and making a big thing? Keep them. You conquer mind. Somehow it has conquered you. Now it is your duty to conquer mind. Internal conquest. So Sri Ramakrishna is in presence of Sri Ramakrishna, in the company of Sri Ramakrishna, he learns every bit of things. Self-management, self-governing, governing an institution, building up an institution. During his period, after Thakur's passing away, they again continue their spiritual life at Baranagar Mutt. They joined together, and it was 1886. 1887, they will take the vows of sannyasa in the orthodox form, and then he gets the name Brahmananda. After 2 years, he goes away to various places. He used to have bhava samadhi in presence of people when singing and all was going on, and Savikalpa Samadhi he had already reached before Thakur's passing away. And then after Thakur's passing away, they all join. He is one of the most important parties of life is austerities. Severe austerities, strict austerities. Encourage austerities in the monastery. Then after 2 years of stay in Baranagar Mutt, he goes away as wandering monk for another 2 years. Dwarka, Vrindavan, Kashi, Banaras, Narmada, Mount Abu, all these places he goes and stays there for totally absorbed in God. And here he gets the ultimate realization of Nirvikalpa. This was the most important part of his life. Then he comes back. After finishing his sadhana, he comes back to Mutt. In 1897, when Swamiji comes back from the West and officially establishes the Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission organization, registers the trust, he was made the president. During his time, there was tremendous expansion of the Mutt and Mission, new branches in India and abroad form. And Swamiji wanted a new type of sannyasa tradition to be brought out. And the one standby, who fully supported Swamiji was Brahmananda in that. Both were of the same nature. So, and we see his influence and his guidance, and the whole Mutt mission was like a nest and a mother bird in it. All else were finely growing. Even cows, animals, this, that, every bit is to be taken care, you see. He used to attend to all things as a Jivan Mukta and as a Ishvara Koti, as a playmate of the avatars, all things at the same time, as a servant of the society. So much he gives. And in 1922, he leaves his body. If I am correct, it's 10th January, 10th April, 1922, 2 years after Holy Mother's passing away, he leaves his body. That also, the same incident happens. Thakur warns all his brother disciples that he will not come to know that he is Rakhal, playmate of Krishna. And that thing happens, one of the monastics alone comes, or somebody, a singer, Ramlal. So he asks him to sing. He will be bedridden. Before that he gets malarial attack and all that. He will be still weak. And he asks him to sing one song, and he sings that song in which you have forgotten you are Rakhal. Immediately he becomes aware of his lost identity. See, a soul who has realized Nirvikalpa doesn't have that identity of being an eternal companion. Later on, that eternal companion, sometimes you can go through. When he gets his identity, he becomes silent, no more talks. 2 days or so he lives, I think, continues to be in that state. Then the body falls off. This is about Rakhal, the Swami Brahmananda. Who Shanti Shanti
Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu